Let me speak to all my colleagues, including Mr. Conyers and Ms. Lofgren. We have talked about this misdemeanor, and I know the chairman. I've read what his intent is, and I agree with him that. Well, let me say this. I think our policy, what we're all trying to accomplish, is to address the 11 million undocumented individuals who are in our country. And at the end of that period, or as we do that, and I know, Mr. Conyers, you're saying why those that are here, we're going to create a process, hopefully the Senate and the House, for many of those to become legal in our country, whether that's citizenship or permanent residence. That's to be seen. But at some point, it is going to be necessary to establish that you're here either legally or you're not here. And I think the chairman, his amendment is designed to ensure that our immigration laws are enforced in the future after Congress has passed a legalization plan. But I do not believe that these criminal provisions that are being proposed should apply to those undocumented, as some have said, unlawful, as some have said, individuals who we decide to legalize. For that reason, Mr. Chairman, my amendment provides that the provisions as to criminalization do not apply until 2015. By which time Congress will have acted on the legalization of millions of individuals who are in this country. We may not decide to legalize the entire population of undocumented immigrants. For instance, we might insist that illegal immigrants have been present in the United States for a certain period of time. That's one of the proposals in the Senate, in order to be eligible for legalization or perhaps citizenship. The Senate bill requires that immigrants have been present since December 2011. Thus, we would not want to provide as a blanket matter that these criminal penalties do not apply to any illegal immigrants present in the United States on the date of enactment of this bill.
Mr. Chairman, would the gentleman yield? Yeah. Could I ask him what would happen if the Senate hasn't acted by 2015?
Well, and I understand. You know, we are dealing with a situation that we don't know what the end result will be. So I think it's important that we act as if, and I know you know that I've expressed my desire that the Congress act this year. And I think anything short of that will be a failure not only for America, our country, our citizens, but also for those 11 million individuals who are here. But I surely, by 2015, the country is going to demand that we address this problem. But in
doing so,
I ask the
gentleman from Alabama a question? I think the answer to Mr. Conyers' question is if the Senate hasn't acted, this isn't law. I mean, I'm not being flippant, but if the Senate hasn't acted, this doesn't become the law. Am I mistaken, the gentleman from Alabama?
You know, let me say this. This is something that has been done overnight in response to my concern, because we've all said, I think, not all of us, I can't speak for everyone. Let me say that some of us have said we don't want to this to apply to those who are already in our country, and that we will at some point legalize. And I think that the vast majority of this Congress knows that there are going to be millions of individuals who are here, who are undocumented, that we will legalize. But at some point in the future, as we do that, we've also said enforcement in the future.
Could I ask the gentleman this? Do I get the notion that he supports comprehensive
Absolutely.
policy?
I've said that time and time again.
Oh, I thank the gentleman.
But let me say this. I'm also for the House and Senate to act and at some point to come to an agreement.
Mr. Chairman?
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from California seek recognition?
To strike the last word.
Gentlewoman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I certainly acknowledge the spirit in which this amendment has been offered by our colleague from Alabama, and that he is acting in good faith. However, I cannot support the amendment. First, we don't have a legalization plan before the committee, so the idea that this would not go into effect unless there were a legalization plan is speculation. Number two, being alive and breathing in the country hasn't been a crime before, and I don't think it should become a crime. If we are able to pass top-to-bottom immigration reform, I do not disagree that we are going to need robust enforcement. I do not, however, think that that robust enforcement should include criminalizing people who are in technical violation of their visas. And many of us have at one time or another represented people in immigration law. It is very easy, frankly, to run afoul of a temporary visa. I've seen people do it frequently, where you're a student and you change your major, or you flunk out of classes and you don't leave that week, or you are writing your thesis on a visitor's visa instead of an F1 visa, and that's a violation of your visitor's visa. I mean, that would make you a criminal under this. And I know that the gentleman is trying to fix this, and I'm very positive about the effort you're trying to make. I'm just saying that I think this would be a bad policy.
I think it's
and I would yield.
I think my time has expired, but I'd be glad. I would love to further. If it hadn't expired, let me say this. I understand what you're saying, but even if you oppose making it a misdemeanor to remain in this country, this clarifies, in my mind, and I'm seeking a way to do that, that this would not, that we would postpone this or delay it until January 1, 2015. That has got to be an improvement, Ms. Lofgren,
I understand.
Over criminalizing it today.
Regaining my time, and I do understand, and I'm sure the former chairman of the committee will recall, that we had a similar question before the House 8 years ago. There was a measure to make it a felony to be in violation of status, which I opposed. There was an effort to make that a misdemeanor instead, which I also opposed, because the issue is right now it's a civil law violation. I agree that if we're able to do top-to-bottom reform, we are going to have very rigorous enforcement. And frankly, there are things that I have objected to over the years. Robust E-Verify that is ubiquitous, that I think we're going to have to buy into. I accept that. But I do not believe it is wise policy to create criminal law violation penalties for what has always been civil law violations. And again, I credit you, Mr. Bachus. I know that you're trying to, I'm not critical of your motives in any way. I just find it not possible to support the amendment.
Well, I understand that. And let me, if the lady will yield.
I would yield.
We all agree. No, we don't. You and I agree. you and I agree that until we're able to solve this Rubik's Cube, that the 11 million, and I call them undocumented, individuals who are here, that they should that these shouldn't apply to them until we determine which of those individuals will remain here, become legal residents, perhaps citizens. I don't know the final part. But we also agree that at some point, because part of the problem we have today is we didn't enforce our laws in the past, and people came here with the expectation they could work, they could raise a family, and
reclaiming my
and I think that at some point we have to have a bright line and say, no, you can't just come here and disregard our law.
Reclaiming my time, I don't disagree with that, Mr. Bachus, but how that is done is very important to me. And, and if I may,
without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized for an additional minute.
To create criminal law penalties, I think is just bad policy. And I can't support it. I understand what you're trying to do. I credit you for trying to make this better. I just can't support it. I do think it's, we could find common ground on enhancing the drunk driving provisions. I think, we'll get bipartisan support on that, but to make mere overstay a criminal law violation, I think is a policy mistake that I cannot support. I understand you're trying to postpone it so that it would have a more workable effect down the line, and I credit you for trying to do that. I cannot support making mere presence a crime in America, and I wanted to explain, much as I credit your effort to improve this bill, why I cannot
and I think we ought, if we're going to get to a solution, we have to all approach this as a work in progress. And I think the majority on both sides wants to work together to see that happen. And that's the spirit I offer this amendment.
Time of the gentleman
I yield back.